How can AI help restaurants in the back of the house? Hello, I'm Jonathan Mays, Editor-in-Chief of Restaurant Business, and in this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, we continue our examination on AI's impact on the restaurant industry. This week, Joe Guszkowski looks at AI in the back of the house.
If you go out to eat a lot, there's a good chance you've interacted with artificial intelligence in some form. Maybe you've talked to an AI voice bot in the drive-thru or over the phone. Or maybe AI has nudged you to add a dessert to an order you're placing in a restaurant's mobile app. For consumers, these are the most obvious forms of AI in the restaurant industry. But the truth is, restaurants are actually using a lot more AI behind the curtain than they are in front of it. In fact, a recent survey conducted by Restaurant Business found that most restaurant operators are interested in using AI in these so-called invisible ways: managing inventory and labor, forecasting sales, predicting what the kitchen needs to prep for the day. Far fewer said they expect to use it to actually take orders anytime soon. So while AI voice bots at places like Taco Bell may get all the headlines, artificial intelligence in restaurants has actually made more progress in places consumers will never see it. And for some operators, including both large chains and small mom and pops, it has proven to be a transformative tool. I'm Joe Guszkowski, Senior Editor at Restaurant Business. And in this special episode of A Deeper Dive, we continue to explore the impact of AI on restaurants. This time, we're looking at how restaurants are using AI behind the scenes to make a difference in their business.
About, just over 19 months ago, I was at a trade show in Chicago, honestly, with no intention to look at anything other than support one of our leaders in a conference. She was hosting for the first time, and she dragged me by the arm and said, "Hey, I want to go to the showroom here and show you some things that I saw the day prior." And we ran into lots of different tech booths, and it was a tech conference. And we went to one of the vendors was called Pressy Taste. They're selling this idea of using AI to execute the production side of the business. In other words, it wasn't really guest facing like you see in lots of other restaurants, i.e. via kiosks or lots of different types of online platforms. It was more based solely in the kitchen to support with forecasting sales and your product mix, so on and so forth. And that was very intriguing.
That's Dan Anfinson, the COO of Mac Haik Restaurant Group, a First Watch franchisee. Mac Haik has now been using AI for several months to help predict sales at 24 of its restaurant locations. The AI looks at factors like the day of the week, holidays, local events, and the weather to come up with a forecast.
So on a hot day, you're going to sell probably more salads or lighter dishes. On a colder day, you're going to sell heartier dishes. So it takes all those things in consideration, and it forecasts what they believe your sales are going to be. And our expectation is about a 93 to 95% accuracy. Well, if you can do that, then you can forecast, well, based on the sales, what products will you sell within a certain percentage of accuracy? And if you can do that, you can say, well, if I know what my sales are going to be and I know what I'm going to sell as relates to product, I can determine what I'm going to produce with that.
This level of intelligence is a big change from how restaurants usually operate, says Matt Wampler. He's the co-founder of ClearCOGs, a company that uses AI to tell restaurants how many workers to schedule or how much food to prep. The company was inspired in part by Wampler's experience as a Jimmy John's franchisee.
One of the decision points I had was, 2 hours prior to close, do I need to bake another cycle of bread, or do I have enough and I can shut the ovens off and start cleaning? I mean, it's the same decision made every night by the PM manager. And our process really was to go stick our head out the door and look if it was raining, look if it was busy, who's in the parking lot, what's it feel like? Did we run out yesterday? Do we have too much left over? And then you'd make this gut feel decision. And frankly, we weren't very good at making that gut feel decision.
For Mac Haik, going with hard data rather than gut feeling has created a ripple effect that's benefiting other parts of the business. Knowing what to expect has allowed restaurants to schedule labor more evenly, which improves execution and speed of service and ultimately makes customers happier. They're also wasting less food, which saves money, all because the staff had a better idea of what they'd be doing that day.
I'm a restaurant guy and I'm a consumer, and nothing drives me crazy where I'm paying more money for something, but I'm getting worse service or lesser quality of product. And what this has allowed us to do is protect those things. And as we've seen through our test, our top line sales are building. We're increasing our speed of service to where our wait times are reduced on the front. And when consumer sees that, they go, well, we can go there more often. We can achieve what our day plans are, as an example. We can go to that restaurant and get in and out in a timely manner. We're not waiting for something. And then when they're happy, people tend to spend more money. So we've seen top line sales increase, and that trickles into the P&L. There's so many wins we're gathering just by what's happening behind the curtain on this side of with the infusion of AI. It's exceeded our expectations thus far. And I'll knock on wood when I say that, but it's absolutely exceeded the expectations.
Predicting the future is just one way restaurants are using AI behind the scenes to operate more smoothly. The technology is also helping out with super nerdy back office tasks like paperwork. At Torchy's Tacos, Director of Financial Applications and Intelligence Bruce Harris has developed several AI apps for the chain's accounting department.
Yeah, so there are a few process flows that we're working on right now. One is we have new vendors. Whenever a new vendor needs to be set up, it's a manual process. We need the W-9. Somebody needs to fill out information. Then that information needs to get into our ERP and it needs to get approved. So that can be a complex process, kind of a disjointed process of I enter the information, but here's the W-9 and attaching all that together. So what I've set up is using agentic AI workflow is instead of keying all information, then now you can upload a W-9. And then the AI reads the W-9 and it parses out all the fields. It tells me if the W-9 is signed. It has more complex functionality, such as if these boxes are checked, then that means this customer is going to need a W-2 at the end of the year. And then it checks, does that vendor already exist based on some fuzzy logic, based on tax IDs, based on vendor names against existing data. And then based on all of that, then it'll send it for approval. So they can review it. They can update things if need be. And then once that's approved, then it's going to go to accounting for approval. And then they can get that vendor created.
If that sounds a bit boring, well, that's kind of the point. AI never gets tired of doing repetitive, time-consuming tasks. It can take care of the boring stuff so employees can focus on other, more valuable jobs.
From a time-saving standpoint, I know a lot of the automation we've rolled out, the accounting team has told me it took them 3 days into close to be able to finish these processes. And the latest update I got is they're able to finish these processes before closing even starts.
Harris said since Torchy started using the technology late last year, it has saved time equivalent to one full-time employee. But it's not here to take anyone's job.
It's been a lot of change. Change can make a lot of people nervous. None of this is to replace people. It's all to enhance what they do, enhance the value to the company on their part. They can also learn more advanced techniques, more advanced functionality. So it really benefits everybody.
The next step for Torchy's is to use AI to find patterns in financial data and identify areas in which the chain could save money or be more productive.
The goal is to move away from it's all that information optimization. That is our goal for everything. It's turning data into intelligence. It's moving from descriptive, which is the past and what the world is usually stuck in, that descriptive past. I'm trying to generate reports or accruals or anything for that past. And then now that you're going to automate that, you're going to move up the chain to that predictive prescriptive, where now you can look for, okay, now let's look for places we can save money. Let's look for patterns. Let's look for particular issues or other things like that. So that frees up time for more value add, more advanced value add.
At single unit Kalei's Kitchenette in San Diego, AI is already doing something along those lines. The restaurant, operated by Khara Mangiduyos and her husband, Andy, is a true mom and pop, but that hasn't stopped it from embracing AI in a variety of ways.
The biggest thing that I've been using that has a significant impact to my bottom line is our POS system, which is spot on. They have introduced this amazing product or feature, which I feel like the whole world needs to know, which is called Profit Assist. Essentially what it does is it not only tells you what happened, analyze it for you, but it really just tells you these are the top 3 things that you need to do. If you do option A, you're going to save $2,000. If you do step 2 or recommended action item 2, you'll save this. Or if you do this, you not just saving, but you're earning something. So the recommendations are really based on the historical data.
For instance, the AI tool recently helped the chain save thousands of dollars by changing how often it gets clean aprons and towels delivered.
So we look into our uniform line item. It's a very low monthly fee. But again, everything adds up, right? And we said, do you think if we adjust the delivery cadence, it would create an impact both for our operation and, of course, financial? And then we looked into it. So we basically just reduced the delivery occurrence, and that saved us a $3,000 a year annual.
$3,000 goes a long way, especially for a small restaurant. But that wasn't the only benefit that came out of that decision.
We didn't realize, because we have a very small storage space in our store, we didn't realize that the old way of having more deliveries in a week is actually causing limited storage space. So that when we reduce the delivery, it actually opened more space. Everybody's a lot happier because we're not just like, oh my gosh, where am I going to put this, put that, and all that stuff. So there is the financial benefit, but there's that other benefit that I can't put a number, but more like my staff is a little bit happier and they don't feel like enclosed in this small storage space. I think that's powerful. It helps me. It saves me. I really like this word, decision fatigue. It doesn't give me that anymore, where, yeah, I could have figured that out, but it would require me time, because it saves time. It's not just about saving time anymore. It's saving my head.
Now, there are some prerequisites for restaurants that want to use AI in this way. Basically, their books have to be clean so that the AI can get the full picture and draw meaningful conclusions about their business. Unstructured data remains one of the biggest hurdles for restaurants that want to adopt AI, says Wampler.
It's the fact that the data is really bad and nobody wants to take the time to go clean, format, and standardize the data. It's why when you see restaurant brands try and do this in-house, they're like, we've got the latest, greatest models, we're going to run it through, and it just doesn't work because they didn't take the time. Or you go to these, giant companies that support most restaurants and say, why don't you have this in place? Well, they don't want to go brand by brand and have to comb through the data and figure out when store number 3 ran out of, product number 1. It's a lot of work to do that. I'll give you a good example. So I trained a bot to speak like me. And, I uploaded a bunch of transcripts. The transcripts I used were me on sales calls and podcasts. You can imagine that I literally sounded like the cartoonish version of myself. It wouldn't have mattered how great the AI was. I fed it a bunch of data, and the data was me saying, salesy things. It's the same thing. All of these models rely on data. So what you feed it is what you're going to get. And if you feed it bad data, you're going to get bad results.
But once the foundation is in place, operators say there's no limit to what AI could do, within reason.
I think it's definitely opened up our eyes on things that we weren't expecting. I would say the cash flow side of things is probably going to be a huge win for us. We're not in a situation yet with the program to be able to do predictive ordering from our distribution yet. I think that's a game changer because, again, I get to protect the cash flow of the restaurants. Other than that, I almost want to take a step back and say, bring service back, and this is the pathway to help do it. I want to get back to the old school day where you go get gas in your car and they're wiping your windshield and they're saying how you're doing things. I mean, I want that type of experience in the restaurant again. I want to be taken care of.
So does that mean that AI could one day take over every restaurant job that's not customer facing? Will restaurants have robots working the back of house and humans in the front?
Well, I think there's a healthy balance. Okay. I absolutely see AI being infused in the kitchen from an automation perspective. At the end of the day, we are still a business that we have to protect our consumer. I mean, if chicken's not cooked right or things aren't done properly, right? You put people in harm's way. I think there's got to be a balance of that. And this is my personal opinion, but I think I think as technology continues to grow and the pressures, the macroeconomics happen, of course it's going to go down that way. But even in the factories that are building cars today, there's still people out there at least monitoring that, from a safety perspective. So I think there'll be a balance of that as time goes on, honestly. And again, I think it's, and as people get more comfortable with AI as well, I mean, I'm seeing it replace the search engine. I'm seeing people get more adept to it, right? I think it's become the norm in the next, I don't even know, I could say years, several months. I feel pretty positive about the direction it's going, particularly in hospitality, as long as we allow it to. I think we got to be really careful. I think we can get so addicted to the savings on the P&L that you forget who you are.
And that should do it for the latest episode of A Deeper Dive looking at AI in restaurants. Check us out next week when we look at the impact AI is having on marketing. And that should do it for this special episode of A Deeper Dive, which was edited, as always, by Spoons. Contributing to this podcast series has been Restaurant Business Senior Tech Editor Joe Guszkowski and Senior Menu Editor Pat Kobe. Kimberly Pelican helped with the artwork. You can find this and other episodes of A Deeper Dive on our website at www.restaurantbusinessonline.com/article/deeper-dive. But please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm Jonathan Mays, your host, podcast producer, and the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business. Thank you for listening.